Get ready with me while I tell you guys about the story that I got sent. So it started off by me meeting this guy a few months before COVID started. We were texting for a while, getting to know each other, and eventually I started to like him. We were going out, and eventually my girl best friend moved around my area. We were hanging out a lot, and I eventually told her about my boyfriend. She was happy for me, but then she started acting weird. She hits him up, and he ends up sending me a screenshot of her trying to get at him. She asked me if I wanted to hang out, so I was like, okay, sure. So whenever I went to her house, I ended up confronting her about it. She got mad at me and told me why I would ever think that she'll hit up on my boyfriend, but then I showed her the proof. After I showed her the proof, she kicked me out of her house, and I went straight to my boyfriend's house. When I went to my boyfriend's house, I told him what happened, and he told me to drop her. So then I dropped her, and then COVID started, so I couldn't see my boyfriend as much. We take a little break because COVID did start, and we couldn't really see each other, but we'll still text seeing how we were doing. Then my best friend sends me a snap of them together. And the reason why they had a chance seeing each other more is because they were in a gated community together, and they lived like 30 seconds away from each other. When she sent me the snap, she didn't have one boyfriend, but she had two. But then I stop her back and tell her what she's doing with my ex, and she just blocks me. But then I text my ex and I tell him that I want nothing to do with him and that I don't want to hear from him anymore. Moving forward to this year, we talked about it and made a solution. Now we're all good with each other, but we're not friends. Okay, that is the end of the story, but let me give you guys some feedback. First of all, that friend isn't your friend. And I hope that you cut contact with her, and if you did, good job. I know it's hard to cut off contact with a friend that you're best friends with, but if you did so, proud of you. And for your ex to be letting himself like that, and then your ex, he doesn't even have any respect, so don't go back to him. I know how girls be with their ex, just don't. At the end of the day, keep your head up and be careful on who you hang out with.
Get ready with me while I tell you guys a really creepy story that's been happening to me lately, and I think it's still happening. Okay, as most of you guys know, I moved out about 3 months ago, and I did a whole move out series on my TikTok. So many people know I live alone now, and about a week ago, I was going to Trader Joe's, and you guys, last time I had a weird story, it was at Trader Joe's too. I don't know what the heck goes on in Trader Joe's. A little backstory, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but when I was leaving my house to go to Trader Joe's, I saw a baby blue car parked right in front of my house, and I didn't think anything of it. I just saw it. When I got to Trader Joe's, I had barely even entered, like I was just grabbing a cart, and this guy stops me. He looks about to be a middle-aged man, maybe in his 40s, okay? He told me how he really likes my family's videos, and he liked my videos especially. He said he follows me on everything, and that he's emailed me before. Don't know what that email entailed, but he said that he's emailed me before, and I get really awkward in these encounters. I was just like, oh my god, thank you so much, blah blah blah. And then he asked to take a picture with me, which I did. I took a picture with him. Okay, anyway, so the whole time I'm shopping, I swear he is staring at me, and he had a black hat on, which made everything a lot more creepier. Like, it felt like he was doing this like from the corners of his eye. And you know when you just feel someone looking at you? I just felt him staring at me the whole time I was there. So towards the end of my shopping, I'm like checking out, and I start like keeping an eye out for him. Like I wanted to know where he was because I didn't want to have to like run into him again as I was leaving, and I couldn't find him anywhere. Like he just was nowhere to be seen, and I thought he left. I'm like, okay, he's like finally gone. At this point, I made it to my car. I put my things in the trunk, and I'm about to leave. Like I'm in the driver's seat, and as I'm leaving, I see from a distance, I still don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but I see from a distance, parked in the back of Trader Joe's, and there was a lot of empty spots in the front. It's parked in the back of Trader Joe's, that same blue car that was parked at my house. And it's not just like a normal blue car, guys. It's like a baby blue, bright blue car. Like, I don't see that color everywhere I go, you know? It still probably has nothing to do with it, but in that moment I started thinking like, oh, like what if that car is him and he like followed me here? Very next day, I get a knock on my door around like 6 p.m. and I didn't answer it because sometimes my neighbor, like kids knock on my door, they want to hang out, and like sometimes I just ignore them, okay? Next morning, I opened the door to leave and I found these at my doorstep. What? I don't have anybody to be dropping off these huge flowers at my doorstep. Like, I don't know where they came from. They look a little older in the picture because this happened a few days ago and I'm filming this now. I didn't touch those flowers. I was like, what if they're poisonous? I just left them out there and they're still outside of my house. Like, what if somebody's trying to kill me? There was also no note in the flowers. Pretty much, guys, I think I have a stalker. I don't know what to do. Should I call the police? Like, what do I do? My cats are the only thing keeping me safe at night.
I was talking to this guy until, except it progressively gets worse. I was talking to this guy until he would constantly feel the need to tell me about all of his past hookups in great detail and claimed that he needed a girl like me to tie him down. I was talking with this guy until he would go like a week without texting me back. And then when I would ask him about it, he would immediately change the subject. I don't know if he was trying to have a competition of who can go the longest without responding, but spoiler alert, I won. I was talking to this guy until he randomly posted an Instagram note talking about how he can be 70 and he'll never stop loving his ex. I was talking to this guy until he went and asked my friend if I was a whore and asked her what my body count was. I was talking to this guy until we were in an argument and he asked me why he has to be the only one that's the man in the relationship. I'm gonna give you a good minute to think about that one. I was talking with this guy until we were having a conversation about how we both want careers in computer science, and he randomly said, wow, our kids are going to be so spoiled. I knew this man for 3 days. I was talking with this guy until he told his homeboy to run and chase after me in the middle of the day, all because I didn't respond to his text. When I say run, I mean literally run. It was the scariest thing ever. I was talking to this guy until he said he was going to post me, which I thought was weird because we weren't even locked in for real. He posted me to his close friends, and turns out I was the only person on the close friends. He even took my own spam account off of the close friends. I was talking to this guy until he texted me that he was in my neighborhood. Whole time I never gave him my address. I could make many parts, but we are finished. Deuces, deuces, and deuces.
Get ready with me while I talk about things I got in trouble for with a really strict dad. So these are things that I think a child would not normally get in trouble for, but I guess we'll see. So starting off strong, I didn't get him or make him a birthday card when I was like 8 or 9. So me and my brother got sent to our rooms for the rest of the day. We tried to call our mom to tell her what happened, and then we got in trouble for that. The next thing I got in trouble for was for not being hungry at breakfast time or not eating all my food at dinner. I mean, it wasn't because I wanted to be skinny or something like that. I was literally just really little and could not physically eat the same amount as my older brother could. I don't understand how that one is that wrong. And on that note, one time I had some food left that I just was not hungry at all. I had eaten so much. So then I said I had to go to the bathroom, then I stuffed it all in my mouth, and then I went to the bathroom and spit it out in the toilet. And when I came out, my dad had his ear to the door and he was like, bruh. And then I was sent to my room and I was crying, and then he came in and he was like, you need to apologize to your stepmom for doing that because now she thinks you hate her food. And she was just making that up to make me feel bad, obviously. She could care less. The next thing I got in trouble for was for texting somebody the poop emoji. Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for that one. The next thing I got in trouble for was for getting car sick and throwing up in the car. And I had to clean it up after. The next thing isn't something I got in trouble for. It's just kind of a weird rule we had that we had to ask before we could have a snack or just eat in general. We had to ask before we could eat. I don't know. I didn't really realize how weird that one is until now. But also it just doesn't make sense because it's you want me to eat all my food, but then when I'm not hungry you're mad at me, but then when I am hungry you're also mad at me. Make it make sense, pal. The next thing I got in trouble for was for bringing clothes that I bought with gift cards that my dad and stepmom gave me to my mom's house. So I wasn't allowed to bring anything from my dad's house to my mom's house, but obviously my mom didn't care, so she let me bring stuff from her house to my dad's house because the next thing is honestly just a weird story that happened, but my old babysitter for some reason told my dad that I wanted to my siblings, my little sibling, but luckily my dad believed me, and yeah. And the last thing I got in trouble for is telling him that I was happier at my mom's house, and that got me kicked out the house. The full story time is pinned on my page. Let me know if you think these are strict rules or not. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching.
Make slime with me while I tell you the story about how I met my racist, creepy neighbor. When I was in about 4th grade, me and my younger sister were obsessed with playing in the woods behind our house. One day, the neighbors on the other side of the woods moved in, and there were so many kids that lived there. All of these kids were homeschooled, and so me and my sister went out and played in the woods, and we met these kids in the woods, the ones that just moved into the house. There was a girl that was my age, and then there was a boy that was, I think it was in the middle of me and my sister's age. I don't know if he was older or younger. All I know is that he was creepy and racist. The very first day we met these kids, the boy was very weird. His name is Johnny, and the very first time we met him, he got up on the sewer that was in the middle of the woods, he pulled down his pants, and he decided to pee in a circle, going just like in circles around. Obviously, these kids are homeschooled, so they probably don't have as much etiquette as kids who actually go to school do. And me and my sister usually went in the woods together. Like, we didn't really ever go alone because she was my best friend when I was younger. So there wasn't ever a reason for us to go alone. So the next day, we headed out to the woods and we saw them there again. And this time they were playing in a tree that was tipped over the pond. So we all climbed over it and we started yelling things over the pond. Like, hey, like no swear words or anything, just like innocent kid stuff. But Johnny decided to yell the N-word. And me being a little fourth grader who didn't have much education on anything, I asked, what was that? What does that word mean? And he said the name of our black neighbor. So I was confused, and me and my sister went home, and it was dinner time. So we were sitting at the dinner table, and I go, hey, Daddy, like, today Johnny from the woods said a word, and I didn't know what it meant. And I told my dad the story about how, like, he said the neighbor, and I didn't understand why it would be the neighbor, and like I didn't really understand anything. Dad was like, what was the word? And I was like, I can't remember. It started with an N, but I just like can't remember what it was. It was a weird word. And my dad started freaking out. He was like, was the neighbor outside when he said it? Like, did he hear anything? And then my dad started going on a rant about like homeschooled kids and how they're like weird, and like I had already told him the story about the sewer thing, and my mom was like, you shouldn't be hanging out with him anymore. So the next day, my sister woke up sick, so I had to go play in the woods by myself. So I went in the woods, and I didn't notice anybody else around besides Johnny. And he took me into the little fort that we had built, and he was like, this is mine. What does yours look like? As he pulled down his pants. And I covered my eyes, and I literally screamed at the top of my lungs, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, blah, 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 whatever little kids say. I honestly can't really remember. That's like a traumatic part of my childhood. And little Johnny comes over here, and he tries pulling my pants down. I scream, and I run home, and I just like cried. I didn't know what to do. Long story short, I never saw Johnny in the woods again after that. And I did not hang out with him.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough.
2.5 hours to see this man just to be ghosted. Y'all remember when I said that I'm never gonna be on another dating app again? Well, I fucking lied. Because I recently re-downloaded Tinder and Hinge again, just because, not to like actually, you know, talk to anybody or meet anybody or really even do anything, just because I needed validation. But I don't know, there's this boy on Hinge who liked my picture, and you know what, I was like, damn, this man is fine as fuck. And we hit it off right away because we both were joking back and forth, and I made a joke being like, oh, like I'm crazy as fuck, which like wasn't really a joke though. But he takes me a little too seriously, and he proceeds to tell me that he himself just got out of the psych ward. And all my friends told me that this is a red flag, but you know, me being me, I like to see the best in people, and I don't really judge people for their past or for whatever the fuck they're going through, because I'm not that type of person. So I ignore the signs, and we continue to talk, and he tells me to add his Instagram, so I do. And one thing I noticed about his Instagram is that he only followed like 40 people and only had like maybe less than 20 followers, and they were all hot girls that he clearly met from Hinge. To some of y'all, you're probably like, oh, obvious red flag, but to me, I'm like, okay, he's single, you know, he's on Hinge for a reason, he's exploring his options, I'm just gonna ignore that. We start trauma bonding and we're having deep conversations and just like, you know what I mean? But things start to get sexual really quickly, which is another red flag. So a few days pass and we start talking about a first date. We both realize that he lives 2.5 hours away from me. This motherfucker basically has no car right now because it's fucking broken down and he's like fixing it or whatever. So he's like, well, I can't drive out to you, you know, why don't you just come out to me? And I'm like, you don't gotta tell me twice, like I'll literally do it, stop playing with me. Basically the plan was for me to leave that Monday coming up after work. So now it's Monday night and I'm literally driving home from work to go get ready. And he's like, oh, well, can you just come in the morning? Because, like, I didn't think you were actually gonna come out and see me. I thought you would flake on me. Like, I have to get some stuff done around the house, and I have to, like, work on my car, and blah, 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 blah. So we made plans for me to leave the next morning at 6, so I can get there around 8 or 9. 6 the fuck o'clock the next morning comes around, and I've been texting him. I texted him when I woke up around 4, because I knew his ass would be up too. And he's not answering me until 6 o'clock in the morning exactly, when I'm literally at QT filling up my tires so I can go see him. And this motherfucker hits me with the, oh, can we reschedule? There's nothing to do out here, and like, it's gonna be boring, and I just don't want you to be bored, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, motherfucker, I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want to come see you. I just want to meet you. So I explained to him that I'm irritated as fuck because I have such a tight fucking schedule that I already told him about, and I switched my whole schedule around just so I can go see him for a day. So after about an hour of going back and forth with each other, eventually he's like, you know what, like, you can come out here right now, just like, as long as you're okay with being bored and me working on the car at some point in the day, that's cool. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. But dead ass, guys, when I get there, literally all the fuck he talks about is himself and his ex. And I'm just kind of like, okay. Also, while I'm there, this is when he decides to drop the bomb on me. He's been to juvie, he's been on the run in multiple states. Like, he used to sell like hard shit and he wants to get back into selling hard shit. But he's been sober and he wants to stay sober. And I'm just like, okay. Again, I'm not judgy because I'm not that type of person. But any normal person would take this all as a red fucking flag. Whatever, the day ends and we wake up the next morning and he's like, okay, so when are you trying to leave? And I'm like, I just woke up. So I asked him, I'm like, well, when do you want me to leave? Because this is your place, you know what I mean? And he was like, well, sometime before 12 because I gotta go work on the car, because he never fucking worked on it before. Honestly, I just ended up leaving earlier. When I left, he didn't even kiss me bye, guys. He hugged me and then he proceeded to ask me like, oh, like, should I come out in like a week or two? Like, what are we gonna do? Whatever. I'm just like, yeah, just like, you know, let me get my schedule figured out. Let me request the days off and we can talk about it later. So I start my drive 2 hours all the way home. Now, this is when things get interesting. I'm gonna have to make a part 2, so go to part 2.
Breaking news. The future is here, and it looks bright.
Let's talk about things that are not normal to put up with in a relationship, and I'm certified and qualified, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. He constantly brings up your ex or constantly brings up whoever you were with before and like shames you about it. It's 10 times worse if he's been with more people than you. Bitch, you're not the one to talk, okay? It honestly just screams insecurity, and if I'm with you right now, why do you care about who I was with before? That's just weird, bro. Fix the problems, and they're like, I'm nonchalant. Because when guys say that they're nonchalant, that's just like a code word for saying like, I'm not going to do nothing in this relationship. Because you always catch yourself constantly asking, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Are you in a good mood? See, like, do you see how much work you're putting in? And he's sitting there like a little bitch. Relationships are a two-way street. You both can communicate, and the fact that people use nonchalant as an excuse as to put no energy or no effort into relationship is a disgrace. Like, and it's not normal for your man to like and lust over Instagram girls. Like, that's just not normal. As much as gaslighting they like to say is like, oh, it's Instagram, it's not real life. But bitch, you're real life looking at these bitches. Like, you're real life looking at them lustfully, okay? You should only have a man who has eyes on you only, okay? Another thing that is not normal is when guys tell you what to wear and what to post and what not to post, okay? A lot of people like to excuse it as, oh, you need to have respect for your relationship, cover up, dress differently, post differently. To me, that's all bullshit, okay? It's just an excuse to control you. It'll literally be the same guys that tell you not to post this, you not to wear this, but they're under the girls' likes on Instagram wearing the things that they don't want you to post. Posting the things they don't want you to post, okay? Shit, this isn't the 1950s. Like, you could still have respect for your relationship and wear whatever the fuck you want. Like, listen, no man should be raising his voice at you. Especially when you guys are arguing, when you guys are fighting. He should not so dare to call you a bitch, okay? He should not insult you at all if you guys are arguing. Me personally, if a man ever insults me while we're arguing, that just shows the immaturity level, okay? He should know how to control his anger, especially if he's a grown-ass man. Like, he should not be throwing shit if he's mad. He should not be punching walls if he's mad. He should not be scaring you if he's mad, okay? That shit is not normal, okay? Your man is probably the Hulk, okay? Well, if your man does any of these things, you can work it out with him or just simply break up with him, okay? Because that shit is not normal. As always, I love you guys so much. Please go follow my Insta. I post so many baddie girl photos. And please go subscribe to my YouTube. I'm going to be posting a YouTube video this week. It's in the bio. As always, I love you guys so much. Bye.